Everyone wants the reward. Everyone dreams of the applause, the recognition, the finish line. But few are willing to give everything to the work when no one's cheering, when no one's watching. And when the results seem far away, that's where greatness begins, not in the moment of victory, but in the quiet hours of relentless effort. The truth is, results are seductive. They trick you into thinking they're the goal. But the result is nothing more than a mirror. It only reflects what you've been doing in private. The real power lies in the process, in the daily grind, in the hours where you choose to show up even when it doesn't feel exciting anymore. You see, when you get obsessed with the work, something changes inside you. You stop chasing and start becoming. You stop looking for shortcuts and start finding depth. Every repetition, every late night, every tiny effort compounds into something extraordinary. And while others are distracted by quick wins, you're building something unshakable, an identity of excellence. Because success doesn't come to those who want the outcome. It comes to those who can't sleep without improving the craft. The results will come eventually, they always do. But if that's the only thing driving you, you'll quit the moment things get tough. The ones who make it, the ones who rise, are the ones who find joy in the grind, who wake up hungry not for validation, but for progress. The obsession with work is not punishment, it's liberation. Because when you're immersed in the process, every moment becomes meaningful, and every day becomes proof that you're evolving. So don't chase the trophy. Don't count the likes, the numbers, or the praise. Get obsessed with the work, because when the work consumes you, the results can't help but find you. Success is not born from obsession with results, but from devotion to the process. The biggest misconception about achievement is that the outcome defines success, when in truth, it is the journey, the work, the discipline, and the persistence that shapes greatness. Results are fleeting, they come and go. But the habits, skills, and mindset you develop through your devotion to the process are what sustain success over time. People who fixate only on results often lose momentum because their motivation depends on external validation. But those who immerse themselves in the work itself find purpose in every step, even when progress seems invisible. They understand that success is not a moment to be reached, but a lifestyle to be lived. When you're devoted to the process, you stop measuring your worth by how fast you achieve something. You start valuing consistency, effort, and learning. Every hour you spend practicing, every mistake you make, and every small improvement becomes part of your growth. This devotion builds resilience because you're no longer chasing instant gratification. You're investing in something deeper, a skill, a craft, or a purpose that evolves through time. Psychology shows that intrinsic motivation, the kind that comes from genuine passion for the work, leads to longer lasting success than extrinsic rewards. When your joy comes from doing rather than achieving, you become unstoppable. Focusing too much on results can actually create pressure that blocks progress. You start overanalyzing every outcome, doubting yourself when things don't go as planned, and losing sight of the bigger picture. But when your attention is on the process, setbacks no longer define you, they refine you. You see each challenge as feedback, not failure. Devotion to the process transforms frustration into fuel and obstacles into opportunities for growth. It's in those moments of struggle where your true strength is developed, where patience and persistence take root. Devotion also builds character. It teaches humility, discipline, and consistency, qualities that outlast any result. The person who shows up every day with the same commitment, regardless of reward, becomes stronger, sharper, and more grounded. The irony is that the more you focus on the process, the better your results become. It's because the process trains your mind to stay consistent, to improve naturally, and to build momentum. The outcome then becomes a byproduct, not the goal. When you fall in love with the process, success stops being something you chase and becomes something you embody. You stop waiting for external proof that you're progressing and start realizing that every small action done with devotion is already success in motion. True mastery is built in silence, when no one is watching, but you're still giving everything. The moments that define greatness are rarely the ones seen by others. They're the unseen hours, the quiet grind, and the private battles that forge strength. In a world that glorifies attention, applause, and recognition, it's easy to forget that true excellence is cultivated in solitude. The athlete training before dawn, the artist perfecting strokes long after the world has gone to sleep, the entrepreneur working through countless failures. These are the silent moments that shape extraordinary results. When you can give your best effort without needing validation, you develop a level of commitment that transcends motivation. Silence tests character. When there's no audience, no praise, and no reward in sight, only discipline keeps you moving. It's in these unseen hours that resilience is built. The process may be repetitive, lonely, and exhausting, but it's also the birthplace of growth. The human mind often seeks comfort and acknowledgement, yet mastery demands the opposite. It thrives in discomfort and obscurity. Working in silence forces you to rely on your own drive rather than external encouragement. It shifts your focus from proving something to others to improving something within yourself. That internal shift transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary progress. There's also a psychological power in silence. When you remove noise, distraction, and comparison, your mind becomes sharper. You begin to see patterns, refine techniques, and build patience. Every time you show up when no one notices, you're strengthening the muscle of consistency. People who seek constant recognition burn out quickly because their energy depends on approval. But those who embrace the quiet find strength in the process itself. They build habits that last because their motivation is rooted in purpose, not praise. The silence also protects you from arrogance. When no one is watching, your only competitor is yourself. You stop comparing your progress to others and start measuring it against who you were yesterday. That internal competition keeps you humble, hungry, and focused. And when the results finally appear, they speak louder than any words ever could. People will call it talent or luck, but what they don't see are the thousands of hours you invested in silence where the real transformation happened. The truth is, mastery doesn't need to be announced. It reveals itself through quiet consistency. Every day you work unseen, you're building something powerful: discipline, precision, and mental toughness. When the world finally sees the result, they'll admire it, but you'll know it was the silence that made it possible. The result is just a reflection. The work is the real identity. In every pursuit of greatness, the world tends to celebrate outcomes, the trophies, titles, and achievements, while overlooking the countless hours of dedication that made them possible. But what truly defines a person is not what they achieve, but what they repeatedly do to get there. The result is temporary, often fleeting, but the habits, mindset, and work ethic built along the way form the foundation of who you are. When your identity becomes tied to the process rather than the product, you begin to find power in effort itself. You realize that results are only mirrors. They show the quality of your preparation, discipline, and consistency. When someone achieves something extraordinary, what we see is only the surface. Beneath that success lies years of invisible effort, the early mornings, the rejections, the corrections, and the persistence through self-doubt. The result is the tip of the iceberg. The real identity lies beneath. The problem begins when people attach their self-worth to the final outcome. When they succeed, they feel valuable. When they fail, they feel defeated. But true strength comes from detaching your identity from results and anchoring it in effort. You cannot control every outcome, but you can control the work you put in, and that is where your true self resides. When your focus is on the work, you gain freedom. You stop chasing validation and start creating meaning. Whether you win or lose, you still grow, because every ounce of effort refines you. The process becomes an extension of who you are. Your discipline, patience, and integrity all come alive in the work you do. Psychology shows that people who find satisfaction in effort rather than reward are more resilient and fulfilled. They are less shaken by setbacks because their confidence isn't dependent on results. They know that even if today doesn't bring success, every action is shaping a stronger version of themselves. Results can fade, they can be forgotten, broken, or surpassed. But the identity you build through consistent hard work can't be taken away. It becomes part of your character. Every struggle, every repetition, every small improvement molds your mindset and deepens your strength. Over time, the process transforms from something you do into something you are. The result might impress others, but the work defines you. The result shows what you achieved once. The work shows who you've become forever. When you fall in love with the grind, progress becomes inevitable. The people who rise above the rest are not always the most talented or the most gifted. They're the ones who develop an emotional connection with the process itself. They find fulfillment in repetition, joy in discipline, and pride in the effort that others avoid. The grind, often seen as exhausting or tedious, becomes their playground. It's not because the work is easy, but because they've learned to associate it with growth, purpose, and self-mastery. When you genuinely enjoy the process, you stop resisting it, and when resistance disappears, consistency takes its place. That consistency compounds into progress, and progress eventually becomes success. The truth is, most people chase motivation. They want to feel excited before they act, but motivation fades. What sustains achievement is love for the process. The willingness to show up even when the mood is gone. Falling in love with the grind doesn't mean you enjoy every second of it. It means you understand that every second of effort matters. It's a mindset that transforms challenges into opportunities to get better. Each failure becomes feedback, each repetition a step forward. When you embrace the process, you stop focusing on how far you have to go and start appreciating how far you've come. Psychologically, this attachment to the process strengthens resilience. When you derive satisfaction from effort rather than outcome, setbacks lose their sting. You stop fearing failure because it's no longer an end, it's part of the journey. The grind becomes a proving ground where you build endurance, focus, and self-belief. Those who fall in love with this stage don't need external validation. They're fueled by internal growth. The late nights, the sacrifices, the small wins, they all become meaningful because they're aligned with something deeper than success purpose. When the grind becomes your passion, you enter a state of flow where work feels natural. You don't count the hours or chase shortcuts. You simply do learn and improve. That rhythm of steady effort leads to progress without force. It's like momentum. You push hard enough for long enough, and eventually the work starts pushing you forward. People who fall in love with the grind rarely burn out because their energy comes from within. They understand that mastery isn't built overnight. It's built in those countless moments of deliberate practice that most people skip. Progress is inevitable for the one who loves the work more than the reward. Because when passion meets discipline, the grind stops being a burden and becomes a privilege, a daily opportunity to evolve, to refine, and to grow into the person capable of achieving anything. Discipline is stronger than motivation. It fuels consistency even when excitement fades. Motivation is powerful but unreliable. It rises and falls with emotions, circumstances, and mood. One day you feel unstoppable, and the next you can't even find the will to start. Discipline, on the other hand, doesn't care how you feel. It's the quiet force that pushes you forward when your energy runs dry. Those who rely on motivation alone often stop when challenges appear, but those who build discipline move regardless of how they feel. That ability to act without waiting for the perfect moment is what separates the average from the exceptional. Discipline is not about being rigid or emotionless. It's about commitment. It's the promise you make to yourself that you will show up no matter what. When you live by discipline, you stop negotiating with your mind. You don't ask if you feel like it, you just do it because it's who you are. That kind of consistency rewires your brain. It transforms difficult habits into automatic behaviors, and over time, it builds unstoppable momentum. Discipline eliminates the need for constant decision-making because your actions are already decided by your priorities. You no longer depend on fleeting bursts of inspiration. You depend on structure and purpose. The truth is, discipline is what keeps progress alive when motivation disappears. Every meaningful achievement, whether in fitness, business, art, or personal growth, has long periods where excitement fades and routine takes over. Those moments test your character. They reveal whether you are driven by emotion or by principle. People who thrive in those silent stretches are the ones who embrace the power of discipline. They understand that showing up on hard days counts more than performing on good days. Each act of discipline strengthens your self-respect because it proves you can rely on yourself. That trust becomes a form of inner confidence that no external praise can replace. Psychologically, discipline builds resilience. Every time you follow through despite discomfort, you train your mind to prioritize long-term goals over short-term feelings. You begin to see progress as a choice, not luck. It's a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it grows. And once discipline becomes part of your identity, success stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like rhythm. Motivation might get you started, but discipline ensures you never stop. It's what transforms goals into achievements and dreams into reality. When you master discipline, you no longer chase consistency, you become it. The moment you detach from outcomes, you unlock freedom, creativity, and true growth. Most people live chained to results, constantly measuring their worth by what they achieve or how quickly they achieve it. This attachment creates pressure, fear, and hesitation because every action is weighed against success or failure. When your mind is consumed by the outcome, you lose presence in the process. You start playing it safe, avoiding risks, and hesitating to try new approaches because you fear the possibility of not getting the result you want. But when you release that attachment, when you stop obsessing over what might happen, you rediscover the joy of simply doing. That detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough to focus on what you can control and let go of what you can't. Detachment is a psychological shift from performance anxiety to creative flow. When you focus solely on the result, your thoughts become rigid, your movements cautious, and your creativity stifled. You begin to perform out of fear rather than curiosity. But when you detach, you give yourself permission to explore, to experiment, and to fail without losing self-worth. This is where true growth happens. It's in the moments when you stop trying to prove something and start trying to improve something. The pressure fades and progress becomes more natural because you're no longer forcing perfection. You're allowing progress to unfold. Freedom comes from knowing that the result is never fully in your hands. You can control effort, preparation, and mindset, but not timing, outcomes, or external judgment. Detachment creates peace with that truth. It allows you to work hard without anxiety and strive for excellence without obsession. Ironically, when you stop chasing results so desperately, they tend to come faster because your energy is focused, not frantic. You become more patient, more consistent, and more open to learning from mistakes instead of fearing them. This mindset shift is what separates those who burn out from those who keep evolving. True mastery comes when you're able to give everything you have, yet remain emotionally stable regardless of what happens next. Detachment is not indifference, it's confidence. It's the quiet belief that no matter the outcome, you're growing through the experience. When you create, compete, or work from that space, you perform at your best because you're no longer distracted by fear or expectation. You're free to express your full potential. That kind of freedom leads to deeper satisfaction, greater creativity, and lasting success because your fulfillment comes from who you're becoming, not just what you achieve.